I told myself I wasn't gonna buy any more books until I finished the ones that I already have. So naturally, here is a book outlet haul. Book Outlet recently had 15% off site-wide, which is usually when I try to buy books just because there's a little bit of an extra discount on everything. There is a romantasy series, and I want you to go down to the comments and guess, if you have an idea of which one I'm talking about, that I've been trying to get my hands on for a while. However, on Book Outlet, they usually have one or two. The most I've ever seen was 5. I just find myself going on Book Outlet at least once a week to see how many books of the series that are available. But this time around, I managed to get my hands on quite a few of them. I did have to place 2 separate orders because I was going back every hour to check, did they add more? Did they add more? And then of course, because I want free shipping, why would I pay for shipping? Shipping from Book Outlet is around like $10, I think, which is basically the cost of a book. I might as well just buy another book. So I added a few more books onto my orders so that I can get free shipping, and let's see what I got. So I'm going to start with the standalone books that I bought so that I can get free shipping. The first one is The Love of My Afterlife by Kirsty Greenwood. I watch Carter Sullivan here on YouTube, and she recently finished this book and she gave it a 5 stars. So that's why when I saw it, I recognized it. So I added it to my cart. And this one, I believe, is about a woman named Delphi who passes away. And while she is sort of in the waiting room of the afterlife, she meets a very charming gentleman. They sort of hit it off. However, someone comes in after saying, no, there's been a mistake, and then he gets sent back to Earth. She gets offered some sort of deal to be able to go back to Earth and find him, and she of course is like, yes, I'll take it. And then I guess there'll be a series of events that happen to see whether or not she is able to find him. I'm assuming she's probably going to do some self-discovery, whatever she was doing before she passed, maybe making some changes to her life afterwards. So excited to read this one. And I want to say this one was $9.75 on sale. Again, all my prices are in Canadian, and regular on Book Outlet, I think it's $11.50. However, I believe it retails, it says $19 on here, but I think that is in US dollars. So Canadian would probably be maybe closer to like 24. And this one was also a Good Morning America book club pick. Next, I picked up Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. This one was her debut novel, I believe. So this is book 1. There are 4 books. And I do have Meet Me at the Lake and One Golden Summer. So that one just came out. I bought it even though I haven't read the series yet. I will say I'm disappointed because I didn't realize that this was a hardcover and the other 2 books that I have are paperback. And if you know, you know. It's just gonna look weird now. So this one also was $9.75 with the sale. It is regularly $11.50 on Book Outlet. And Book Outlet says that this retails for $35.99 because it's a hardcover. So book 1 is about Persephone. She is from Barry's Bay, which is a small town in Northern Ontario. I'm not sure if it is really Muskoka area, but I just know that it is a small Northern Ontario town. So being from Canada, from Ontario, I hear a lot of good things about this book, especially I think some of the other books, they kind of talk more about like Toronto and just like GTA and like up north. So as a Torontonian that would occasionally go up north for the summers, renting out cottages, stuff like that, I think it'd be fun to read from the perspective as someone who probably grew up in one of those small towns. So I believe this is a childhood best friends to lovers trope. So Persephone has been best friends with Percy since they were kids. They were inseparable. Their friendship turned into something more. And then they eventually had a falling out due to some reason that I guess we will learn about. And Persephone has to return back for Sam's mother's funeral, and their connection is as undeniable as it's always been. So I am excited to get into this series. I think I am just missing This Summer Will Be Different. I want to say the 3rd one. However, I do have it available on my Kobo through the library. So let's see when I get into those ones. Next book I picked up is The Good, Bad, and the Aunties. So this is book 3 of the Dial A for Auntie series by Jessie Sutanto. I do have the first 2 books. Again, this one is the opposite, where I didn't realize this was the paperback, and my other 2 books are hardcovers, unfortunately. I actually have not read those ones yet, so I know I picked up the third one even though I haven't read it. I do love a good book series though. I don't know why. I think I'm more inclined to purchasing a series even though I haven't read it, clearly. I just love something that expands more on like side characters or even just the main couple's story. Because there are definitely books where it's like, I just want to continuously read about them. And this one I got for $8.50 with the sale. It is regular $9.99 on Book Outlet, but it regularly sells for $24.95 in Canadian dollars. I'm not even really sure what this one is about, but I'm assuming it'll just pick off wherever the second one ended. There are the two main characters. I'm pretty sure by either book 1 or book 2 they would have gone together. I really don't even know. So I will eventually get into that series. So I just picked up the third one because I figured why not. And the last standalone book that I got is The Fiancé Dilemma by Elena Armas. And this one is book 2 of the Green Oak series, I believe it's called. Green Oak, yep. And the first one was The Long Game, which I do have, so I did read this one. I enjoyed this one. I've also read The Spanish Love Deception by her, which I did enjoy. And this book is about Josie, who in book 1 we meet, and she is Green Oak's mayor, I believe. And she was a fun character. I want to say they mentioned that she's had like 4 engagements, like she's been engaged like 4 times or something, and then there was always something that didn't work out from one of those, which they do mention here. So I am excited to get into her story. She comes from a very wealthy family, I guess. Her father is a business tycoon, and he is going to announce his retirement, and learning about her failed romantic history does not look good for PR apparently. So she just jumps at the chance to offer a solution for her dad for some reason, even though it clearly says right here that he's been an absentee father. So I guess she just happens to run into Matthew Flanagan and they decide to pretend that they are engaged and he just goes along with it. I would love to understand why, because that does seem a little irrational. I personally love a fake dating trope. We know how it's going to end, of course, and I want to be along for the ride. I just want to see them falling in love with each other, trying to pretend like they're not falling in love with each other. So I am actually very excited to read this book. I picked up this book for $9.34. It is regularly $10.99 on Book Outlet, and it retails for $26.99 Canadian. So great prices on Book Outlet, as always. On to the main reason why I even made these orders. I have been wanting to read the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. I have previously read the ACOTAR series and I loved it. Everyone who's read all of her books say that Throne of Glass is probably the best series that she's ever written, and sometimes it is their all-time favorite series, so really high expectations there. But I have been wanting to get physical copies of the book, and if you know, on Book Outlet, I don't think I've ever seen all 8 books at once available. As I mentioned, sometimes I'll see 1 or 2. There was one time that I saw 5 books available, and you better believe that I added them all to my cart. But of course, since they were priced right under $10, because I think there was a sale, the 5 books was not enough for free shipping. So I was trying to figure out a book to add, and in the time frame that I was trying to add a book, which literally was minutes, some of the books sold out. So I said, forget it. And that was the closest I had ever gotten to buying some of the physical books from this series until today. So I want you to go into the comments and guess how many books I was able to purchase out of the 8 in the series. So there's 7 plus the novella. I did make 2 orders. So go down, take a second and tell me how many books you thought I was able to get. So I was able to buy 7 out of the 8 books. I managed to get 7. I am so close to having a complete set. I am still so surprised that I managed to get 7. So I picked up Assassin's Blade, Throne of Glass, and Heir of Fire in my first order. So I picked up 3. knowing that I was missing 2, but I figured, okay, that at least gets me halfway through the series, which is why I decided I'm just gonna order and we'll see what books that I can find like later on. I also wasn't sure if I wanted to start with Assassin's Blade, so that's why I figured, well, at least I have Throne of Glass, so I could start with that one first, and if I can get my hands on maybe a digital copy of the second one, that'll at least, again, take me through the first 4 books. And if you've read the series, I would love to know your opinion on whether or not I should read Assassin's Blade first or if I should read it in publication order, which was 4th. I have seen people say both. Some people said that they loved getting to know the character before starting the series. However, I've also seen people say that if they read it first, they probably wouldn't have cared about the character as much as they did having read it 4th, because they already sort of met the main character in the first like 3, I think even just other characters, quite frankly. So this just really allowed them to get more of a backstory and appreciate the character more, I guess you can say. So I'm really conflicted on where I want to read this, so I'd love to know your thoughts. So each of these books were on sale for $10.20. They are regularly $11.99 on Book Outlet, again, if they are in stock, because they are just regularly out of stock. And I believe individually they retail for about $25 Canadian each. So basically I got them for $10 each. Huge savings there. I think even right now, Indigo has, if you buy more, save more on Sarah J Maas. So if you buy 1, I think you get 10%, 2, maybe 20. And I think with 3, you do get 30% off. And I priced it out and each of them would still be, and buying the paperback too, because I definitely don't want hardcovers, it would still be around $17 plus tax a little bit, which again, so $10 each book. Great savings. So that was my first order on day 1. I did go back the next day to see if there were any other additional books because I knew I wanted to get some of those individual books too. So I was like, okay, if I can maybe get 2 or 3 books to add, like great, I'll take it. And then I managed to get these 4. So we have Crown of Midnight, Queen of Shadows, Empire of Storms, and Kingdom of Ash, which is like huge. So the only one that I am missing is Tower of Dawn, which I believe is technically book 6. So Kingdom of Ash is the last one. That one's technically book 7. So I'm just missing 1. So I'm gonna be honest, I don't even know too much about this series. I also don't want to spoil too much for myself. So I know we follow our female main character who is an assassin, but that's kind of all I remember from what people were saying. And I think it does start off more fantasy forward and then it sort of goes into the romantasy in the last few books from what I remember. But I am very excited. I know that we have a tandem read, I think for these 2. I can't recall, but I thought that was such an interesting idea to do a tandem read because the timelines of those 2 books are the exact same. They're just different perspectives. So everyone sort of says it's hard to get through the next book having read that first book because you kind of already know everything that goes on. So a lot of people suggested just reading them together, which I am fully on board for. I think that is such an interesting concept. So Crown of Midnight was $10.19 on sale, regularly $11.99, and then again retails for about $25 Canadian. Surprisingly, these 2, Queen of Shadows and Empire of Storms, were $9.75, regularly $11.50 on Book Outlet. Again, I think these ones retail for probably $25 as well, but they were technically a little cheaper than the other ones. And then just the Kingdom of Ash one, this one was the most expensive, probably just because look how big it is. So this one I got for $10.61. It retails on Book Outlet for $12.50. And then this one sells Canadian for $28. How many pages is this? 984 pages. I'm gonna be honest, I probably would have just written some more to get it to a nice 1,000. And the way everyone loves this series, I think they would have appreciated more. So truth be told, I don't even know when I'm going to start reading this series. When I read ACOTAR, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I loved it. And then when other people started reading it, I just remember thinking to myself, I wish I could read it again for the first time, experience it again for the first time. And I have seen people say that about this series, to sort of take your time and enjoy it, just because, again, like everyone is obsessed with the series. So I'm not really sure when I want to read it. I don't want to rush it. I'm definitely the type of person, when I'm really into a book, I will stay up all night reading that book. I have definitely stayed up until 5 o'clock in the morning to read books before, and I'm just at an age where I can't do that anymore, and I have to get up and go to work. Whereas before, I could get away with it. I'm the type of person too, with a series, especially when it's complete, it's like, I just want to know like what's happening. Like I need all my answers. So we will see when I get into the Throne of Glass series. I just love knowing that I was able to get my hands on them. So they're here and ready for me whenever I decide. They will not be a part of my summer TBR. And if you are interested to hear what's on my summer TBR, consider subscribing, because that will probably be my next video that comes out. So if you've enjoyed this book outlet haul, please consider giving this video a thumbs up and subscribing for more content. Happy reading. Bye.